Canada is a country that was built by immigration. Waves of people came to this country, were welcomed by the folks who had lived here for millennia, the First Nations and the folks here on Treaty 4 land, and built this society with waves of people fleeing religious persecution, fleeing tyranny, fleeing to try and build a better life for themselves here than they had back home. And whether it's folks fleeing from world wars or fleeing from civil wars, these people always want the same thing: to be able to live in peace, to raise their families, and to create a better future for themselves and their communities.
According to latest estimates by UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, more than 144 million refugees currently residing in over 60 refugee hosting countries will be in need of resettlement in 2020. The High Commissioner for Refugees emphasized that given the record numbers of people needing safety from war, conflict and persecution, and the lack of political solutions to these situations, UN is currently needing countries to come forward and resettle more refugees. Resettlement, which involves the relocation of refugees from a country of asylum to a country that has agreed to admit them and grant them permanent settlement, is a life-saving tool to ensure the protection of those most at risk or with specific needs that cannot be addressed in the country where they have sought protection. East and Horn of Africa accounts for the highest resettlement needs, almost 450,000, followed by Turkey, 420,000, which is host to 3.7 million refugees, the wider Middle East and North Africa region, 250,000, and the Central Africa and the Great Lakes region, hosting almost 165,000 refugees. According to the projected Global Resettlement Needs 2020 report, refugees most at risk and in need of resettlement include Syrian refugees, 40%, followed by South Sudanese refugees, 14%, and refugees from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 11%. UNHCR believes that with the overwhelming majority, 84% of the world's refugees hosted in developing regions facing their own development and economic challenges and whose own populations may live below the poverty line, there simply has to be a more equitable sharing of responsibility for global crisis. Owing to the gap between the number of refugees in need of resettlement and the places made available by governments around the world, it is available only to a fraction of the world's refugees. Last year, 25 countries admitted 92,400 refugees for resettlement, out of which 55,680 refugees were resettled through UNHCR facilitated programs. History has shown that with a strong sense of purpose, states can come together to collectively respond to refugee crisis and help millions to reach safety, find homes and build futures in new communities.
Canadians are proud to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the private sponsorship of Refugees program. We thank the more than 2 million Canadians who've helped to sponsor over 300,000 refugees and have made the program a model all over the world. Canada is sharing this expertise by helping other countries set up refugee sponsorship programs. On World Refugee Day, we acknowledge the struggles faced by the more than 70 million people who are fleeing war and persecution. And we highlight the importance of Canada's compassion. This is something taken to heart by all Canadians. Let us work together to give refugees and displaced people hope for the future. Merci beaucoup.
Do you agree with the UNHCR on developed countries welcoming refugees? What is your personal response to the refugee crisis?